Here's a peek at what guests had to say after the show.
Okay, we're back on the internet. Dr. West, will the prison hunger strikes across California have their intended effect of limiting long-term solitary confinement? Is that the issue that they're striking about?
With the long-term solitary confinement, which is a form of torture. It's not only that, but you know, they were promised 2 years ago that there would be certain kinds of promises followed through on, because there was a strike 2 years ago. So I think this is very important, it's highly significant, and the beautiful thing about it is, it's prisoners of all colors coming together. So you got some of the gangsters in the brown, in the white, in the red, in the black, all together.
That's hard to do in prison, because prison is
it's
very
hard to do
tribal.
Anywhere. It's hard to do anywhere.
But prison, not that I know, except from watching.
You got a lot of experience here.
I watched Oz. Remember Oz? But it's very tribal. I mean, you have to pick a side. You can't get into
MSNBC lockup, right?
That's right.
I mean,
yeah.
That's right.
Actually, the prison on MSNBC doesn't look that bad. When I watch that show, I'm like, prison, not that. Okay. The Republican Party is supposedly, this is for you, Matt, not about big government, but ultimately, isn't that all that's left in the Farm Bill? Oh, the Farm Bill this week.
Ooh, wasn't that
I saw that shit. They voted for everything except the food stamps.
For the poor, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start, but I know you've got something to add. Look, I think it was smart when they initially split the bill, right? So they had food stamps and the Farm Bill together, and it makes sense for a political coalition, but the two things don't necessarily go together. And I had hoped that what they would do is actually cut some of the fat out of the Farm Bill and some of the giveaways to the big farmers, and maybe cut some of the fat out of the food stamps, but keep it going, make it more efficient. But instead, it looks like Republicans have chosen to reward their chosen group of people, and I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is an abomination, and it's disgusting. And if I were in Congress, I absolutely wouldn't have voted for it. I think it's complete pork, and it's horrible. And the whole thing should have been voted down. It's awful.
Pork for pork. Mike, as an Eagle Scout, how do you feel about the Boy Scout of America's new policy on gay Boy Scouts and their exclusion of gay adult leaders? I guess you can be gay if you're the scout, but not the leader?
Who asked me that question?
Mr. Dunbar.
Cherry XXX 69. Someone you know?
Yeah, awesome. No, wow, what a super question. I appreciate that.
Well,
that's great. First of all, it's a distinguished Eagle Scout, but let's not split hairs.
Okay. But you
know
live
what?
in San Francisco, don't you?
I live in San Francisco.
Well, be
I got
careful of
my
your
start in the
answer.
opera. I'm single, and yet.
You got your start in the opera?
Yeah, I did, actually, a long time ago.
I know that.
And reading books like the one you were reading earlier out loud. Real slow and low and stuff like that, you know.
I started as a ballerina.
We may have dated. I'm glad it's behind them, as it were.
So to speak.
If you will. No, you know what? The Boy Scouts are a big, fat, easy target, and they have been for a long time. But the truth is, they really changed my life as a kid. I mean, I went in shy, backward, stuttering, and I came out different, and I'm grateful for it. To this day, I work with the Scouts. I work with Future Farmers of America and Skills USA, which I think are the three youth organizations that still really matter. I personally think the country needs those organizations, and my sympathies are with the kids in every case. The leadership, I don't have a real connection to. I'm glad they worked it out, but this thing, it's been toxic for recruitment. I get that it's an important issue, but so often when people talk about it, it's to the exclusion of the kids who are in it. You got 1 million kids, and it matters, and they're listening. And look, I'm glad they're engaged. I'm glad it's resolved. So that's a long way of saying yes or no.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yes or no, should they have a merit badge for wedding planning? Just answer that.
It's a valuable skill.
What are your thoughts, I guess this is for anybody, on Elizabeth Warren's bill to tie federal student loan interest rates to the same rates the biggest banks are getting at the Fed? That's Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren.
She's the real deal, right? Isn't that a good idea?
It's a wonderful
Should banks
idea.
really be getting a better rate than students?
Hard-working students of all colors.
No?
Absolutely.
Come on, do you have to
Elizabeth
just
is
be
on.
on the wrong side reflexively?
Yes.
Can't
Yes.
you be on the right
Well,
side of this?
we're on the
just
right side, but it
fuck
can't
of
be popular. That's
Right.
our rule. It cannot be popular.
But why is this a bad thing, Elizabeth?
So I don't know that it's
Well,
a bad thing.
politically, I will just say, I mean, as a political consultant, it's very possible that this is actually going to be very effective for her as a policy that she is putting out there. Now, to slightly drift off topic, I would just like to say that since we're talking about Elizabeth Warren, and since there's a lot of speculation going on about 2016, everybody keeps talking about Hillary Clinton. Now, I don't agree with Elizabeth Warren as a matter of policy. I know everybody's really shocked by that, right? But I would actually be interested to see if Elizabeth Warren would like to have a shot at 2016. I think she could actually be a more interesting and more compelling candidate
And she'd be our
for
first
liberals
Native American
than Hillary Clinton.
president, I believe.
I like her better.
That's
yeah.
possibly true. That's
Oh,
possible.
yeah. Much more of a real fighter for left causes.
I
Hillary
agree.
is, to me, much more of a hawk, much more of a centrist, much more of a corporatist, much more of a
certainly
go
much
along.
more of a hawk. And
right.
I think that's right.
Oh, no.
And
I'm with you. Let's draft
I
Elizabeth
think
Warren.
there's always a
We'll
lot.
do it together.
I think there's always a lot of talk about we need to have more women in politics, and I agree with that. So let's stop with all of the it must be Hillary, and let's actually diversify and start taking a look at other qualified women.
And what about men? Men can run too.
Men can run too.
Now we're done.
Why
with
can't
you.
we have a man in there for once?
We're done. We're done with you. We're done.
Oh,
with you.
we're done with the show, actually. We're out of time. Thank you very much. You were a terrific crowd. I appreciate your help.
Real Time with Bill Maher, Friday night at 10. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com.